I've just been informed by Mr. Davis that because Canadians can't be babyfaces, that I am now officially from the United Kingdom. This might sound bizarre, especially because everyone knows this masked man only hails from partsFUNknown, copyright trademark, but this is one of the many reasons why WWE has chosen to lie about where their wrestlers come from, because they're a totally normal company. This has never been limited to just WWE, with the carny business of wrestling having always been built on lies and deception, with Americans portraying German Nazis following the end of World War II for heat, Koreans being billed from Japan whilst in the country to get sympathy, or monster heels being billed from jungles and other assorted offensive things. Fiddling with a wrestler's country of origin is as ingrained in wrestling as maple syrup is to Canada, and oh, what's this? I've just been handed a piece of paper and I'm being told maple syrup is now contractually from America because it'll get over this way. Well, I'm Tempest hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are 15 times WWE lied about their wrestler's nationality. And of course, if you have yet to subscribe to partsFUNknown, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out on any fun lists just like this one. And if you want another list about times WWE have lied to you, you can check out one of our latest lists, that being the 10 times WWE lied in documentaries. But before we get into the list, I just want to say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. There's tons happening in Raid right now. Raid are overhauling the Champion Vault, plus a load of awesome smaller updates as well. On top of that, Raid is running a series of Summer Splash events where you can get some awesome skins for everyone's favorite dwarf, Trunda. There's also the Deliana Chase event right now, where you can get Deliana, a new legendary champion. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and July 28th. New players get to enter the code MyDeliana to get your hands on bonuses to get Deliana to the max level 50 right away. This is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code on the screen here, you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion, Vergis, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in game. Just click the link in the description and grab that loot. Clicking that link also helps us out at partsFUNknown too, so play Raid Shadow Legends today. Honorable Mention, Le Triple H. An honorable mention because it isn't WWE, but how could I not include Triple H dressed like this, using the worst accent known to Dude Love and prancing around WCW as a Frenchman named Jean-Paul Levesque. And if you think for a moment there is more to that name than Ric Flair seeing the name Paul Levesque and thinking, yeah, French guy, well, I'm sorry to disappoint. Also worth mentioning that this list will be about nationalities, so while there is a great deal of lying being done in the case of noted not Cuban-American Scott Hall, and especially not Arab-American Muhammad Hassan, they were still technically from the country they were being billed from. Number 15, Kofi Kingston. This is one of the ones people will expect to see on this list, and as many people already know, Kofi Kingston's Jamaican gimmick was not the creation of WWE themselves. Kofi worked the indie scene under his Jamaican character prior to signing with WWE, where he went about 2 years on the main roster as a man from Kingston, Jamaica, a big fan of noted WWE star Sean San Antonio. Kofi's transition from man from Jamaica to the more accurate man from Ghana was pretty seamless until Triple Greenwich asked him what happened to his accent. Number 14, Lana. It is one thing for Rusev of Bulgaria to fight for Russia. It is another thing entirely for the ravishing Russian to be from Florida. Granted, Lana spent much of her formative years growing up in Latvia, but a Russian that does not make. It also doesn't help when out of nowhere her accent went the way of Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch and Halle Berry as Storm. Number 13, Aldo Montoya. In WWE's tradition of learning one thing about a guy and basing his whole character around it, they heard that PJ Polaco was of Portuguese heritage and thus bestowed upon him the character of Aldo Montoya, Portuguese man-o'-war. A man-o'-war with a jockstrap on his face. Christ, what is that mask? He was originally going to be a Portuguese soccer player, but that didn't fly because Just Incredible didn't like soccer. As if you needed confirmation that a Portuguese native, he was not. Number 12, Kwang. Hey you! Yeah, you listening to this. Do you have a racially insensitive character but no one of that race available to play the character? Well, fear not. All you need is a mask and you too can dub a Puerto Rican man like Savio Vega Kwang, a man from the Orient. How handy is that? Number 11, the mild lies. Some of these are rather tricky. I don't really want to put folks like Jinder Mahal, the Bollywood Boys, and Santino Marella on this list, because while those lads are all from Canada and not the places WWE says they are, calling someone a liar for saying Jinder Mahal is Indian feels very off. So they will get this entry to satisfy the fans that would have been angry at their exclusion, but that will be all for now. Santino Marella being a fan from Milan, that's a full-on lie, however. Number 10, Canadians can't be babyfaces. But Tempest, we just had an entry of Canadians who aren't portrayed as Canadians. Well, dear viewer, you are correct, but WWE's relationship with the land of moose and beavers has been a very odd one. One of Vince McMahon's many quirks in the mid-2000s was that he thought Canadians can't be babyfaces because, quote, no one would cheer a Canadian, forgetting, of course, the half-decade he spent riding Bret Hart as his top babyface. So if you ever wondered why Chris Jericho was no longer from Winnipeg, you idiot, and Chris Benoit was no longer from Edmonton, it's because the one sentence the ring announcer says during their entrances were the entire crux of their popularity, and it had to be adjusted. Number 9, Apollo Crews. While this could certainly fall into the same category as the likes of Jinder Mahal, the category of I'm not going to tell anyone not to display their heritage, when Apollo Crews gains and loses an accent before coming out on TV and saying he didn't feel like himself, I certainly will feel lied to in some form. And I want Apollo Crews to feel like himself because Apollo Crews is wonderful. Number 8, the Sultan. Poor Rikishi. If you've seen Adam's list of terrible gimmicks for Hall of Fame wrestlers, you'd have seen Rikishi play a head shrinker, an attempted murderer, and make a difference Fatu, all of which saw him build from the Isle of Samoa. And while that's not true, as Rikishi is from California, I'm not going to tell all the Samoan wrestlers that they're not from Samoa. I'd like to keep my heart inside my chest, thank you very much. But those are not the only gimmicks Rikishi had, and my, this one sure is a truckload of bullshit. Repackaged as the Sultan in 1996, he was billed from the Middle East and dressed as a perverted Bane cosplayer. Where exactly was he from? Why, I just told you. The Middle East. All of it, apparently. Christ almighty. Number 7, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Hawaii is the 50th US state now, but when Ricky Steamboat was born, it was merely a territory. Thus, I shall count it, because despite being billed from the island for his entire career, the dragon actually has no ties to the place. Rather, Ricky Steamboat was actually born in West Point, New York in 1953 to an American father and a Japanese mother, but I guess they don't have dragons in New York. Not sure they do in Hawaii either for that matter, but hey-ho. Number 6, the Boogeyman. Some of these entries could honestly be chalked up to a clerical error if need be. You hit the wrong answer on the drop-down menu during your WWE job application, happens to everyone. But I'm almost positive there is no option in that menu for the Boogeyman's hometown, the bottomless pit, as in some form of purgatory from the Bible or Greek mythology. No, that one certainly is a creative decision. You could just call it New Jersey. Number 5, wrestling in space. In the True Story of WrestleMania DVD, former XFL president Basil DeVito said that he thought one day WWE would hold WrestleMania on the moon. Well, if that is the case, there will be at least a few WWE stars that can feel a little closer to home. Max Moon was famously billed from outer space while having the world's jetpack ever. Just look at the state of that thing, while notoriously Brodus Clay was packaged as a dancing buffoon who hailed from Planet Funk. Where exactly is Planet Funk, you ask? About halfway from here to Blips and Chits. Number 4, Stardust. For when space itself isn't quite enough, Cody Rhodes' now infamous Stardust character wasn't exactly the most relatable character in history, except for all those beings in the 5th dimension where Stardust apparently learned to read, write, and hiss at the camera. Not many who have stepped foot in the ring can lay claim to being a 5th-dimensional being of corporeal form, but maybe when Matthew McConaughey finally makes his WWE debut, they can have something to talk about. Spoilers for Interstellar, I guess. Number 3, Yokozuna. The 90s really were the days of WWE deciding, we have enough people from Samoa on this roster, let's just say they're Asian. Because while some of these are very light-hearted joke entries, some of these ain't even close. Definitely one of the more heavily pushed stars to feature such a fib, Rodney Anoa'i was a member of the Anoa'i wrestling family, and certainly wasn't from Japan as WWE led fans to believe. His name, Yokozuna, was even directly taken from the Japanese word signifying the highest rank in sumo wrestling. The Usos watching on perplexed at home, wondering why their uncle was waving the Japanese flag. That's a real thing that happened, by the way, detailed in full by Jimmy and Jay at the 2012 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. Yeah, dude, I would be confused too. Can I just say that WWE's fantasticalization of Asia is really strange? Everywhere that wasn't populated by white folk really was just the land of the rising sun, or the Orient, instead of just saying Japan, or Korea. But again, this company has proven itself to be about as culturally sensitive as Borat and about 1% as funny. Speaking of which, number 2, Akeem the African Dream. As previously mentioned, WWE is a company built on lies and deception, sitting on the mountaintop of a business built on lies and deception. But I don't think there has ever been a bigger lie told in the history of pro wrestling than the first time white as cream cheese one-man gang walked out to the ring being announced from, quote, deepest, darkest Africa. What the f does that even mean? Grab me a map, Vince, and you point to deepest, darkest Africa. Announcing anyone from such a tagline would probably be greatly offensive to anyone who would view it, but may I just repeat that this was reportedly the birthplace of career Chicago biker One Man Gang, all to poke fun at the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Genuinely, I think this might be the biggest lie in all of WWE history outside of the statement World Heavyweight Champion Jack Swagger. And number 1, hailing from partsUNknown. I mean, when else are we going to be able to put our namesake in the top spot of a list? partsUNknown really is whatever you want it to be, and it has produced some very memorable stars apparently. Outside of WWE, you had Abyss and Suicide in TNA, the Dungeon of Doom in WCW, and in WWE, you had the Missing Link, the most memorable star of all. Oh, and also a guy called the Ultimate Warrior. One of the biggest stars of the late 80s and early 90s was from this wacky little place that the Pro Wrestling Wiki defines as a popular kayfabe location that wrestlers give to create an allure of mystique to their characters. Really, the Ultimate Warrior was from Crawfordsville, Indiana, and yeah, I don't think that really has the same intimidating ring to it that partsUNknown does. Sorry to the people of Crawfordsville, Indiana. If you ever want an apology, I will buy anyone from Crawfordsville a pint with a valid proof of residence. Until then, I'm just going to sign off from the actual and factual best location in all of wrestling, thanking partsUNknown for making our stupid little pun possible. I'm Tempest hailing from partsFUNknown, and Canadians make excellent baby faces. And that's our list. I'm signing this off again, apparently, because I wrote it in the script and this is just the way we do things. If you like this list and want to see more like it, make sure, of course, to subscribe to partsFUNknown and check out the times the WWE lied in documentaries. There's a lot of them.